I think as many of us have, I was daydreaming a bit the other day about some of the buzzwords that are so central in our lives now, and fondly reminiscing about what they used to mean. Social distance. That used to be how far apart you were supposed to stand from your prom date on the dance floor. January 6th meant to me only that it was the day before my cousin Craig's birthday. Masks were only for Purim and Halloween and robbing banks. Interest rates used to be something that only hovered around zero. And Zoom, most of you remember, was a TV show in the 1970s on educational television. But the current reality of what all those words mean, along with climate change and racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, extremism, the war in Ukraine, changing times. Oy. Yesterday I spoke of Isaac as the one small child to help us imagine the cosmic significance of the individual human being. Today maybe we can look at Isaac, but to help us lift ourselves up off of the sacrificial altar. To move from our sense of victimhood back to a place of feeling that we have some control over our lives and getting ourselves back on course. Maybe this year we feel a bit more like the young Isaac than usual, innocence laid on the altar, bound and helpless our circumstances, in so many ways feeling beyond our control, gazing helplessly upward towards the powers that be. One minute young Isaac is walking beside his father, trusting in him, feeling secure and protected in the embrace of his father's love and God's covenant. Next thing he knows, his world is turned upside down. The things and people that provided protection and security in his life are now threatening to take that life away from him. Bound and helpless and confused. We can feel that way sometimes. We've been through tough times before. So many difficult things have happened now at the same time, though, in ways that do feel unprecedented. Most of us have lived through economic downturns. We've lived through bizarre, difficult weather. We've seen wars. We've seen terrorism on our own shores. And any one of those things can be really hard to deal with. But seeming to have them all at one time, that's very, very hard. So how do we address these anxieties? Where do we find the physical, spiritual, and emotional strength to face these problems and to thrive in this world? Is there wisdom in this tradition of ours that might help us today? Is there something to give us some guidance? And of course there is. And one of the great sources of that wisdom comes from this ancient and brilliant person who struggled with many of these same questions. How do I get my bearings straight when life has thrown me such a curveball? When so much seems out of control, what is there left for me that I can control? What's really important in this world? What's the purpose of all this? Where's my sense of meaning? Where can I find security, constancy? This man wrote a book called Kohelet. Some say that man was King Solomon himself. The book tells us it was a prince of Jerusalem. And his book is, of course, found in Tanakh, found in our Bible. The biblical scholar Rami Shapiro wrote, "Of all the texts of the Bible, it's Kohelet that speaks to me most powerfully. Kohelet offers an honest and hopeful view of life, a refreshing change from the harangues of the prophets and the simple faith of the patriarchs. Solomon speaks with authority, insight, honesty, and compassion. He pulls no punches and does not hide from simplistic ideologies. He is a 1,000-year-old sage whose message could not be more timely." Kohelet, in his report of his journey to the heart of reality and his insights into how we should live, given the fact of life's impermanence, he also saw that human energies are largely invested in a pursuit of permanence, a pursuit that's doomed from the start, he wrote. Kohelet is a wonderful book, and the author, a thought-provoking and wise character. A fellow who's hell-bent on finding the core of what's really important in life, especially when life challenges us. The book itself follows Solomon, perhaps, this Prince of Jerusalem, on a series of sociological and psychological experiments to try to find the meaning in life. His first experiment, knowledge. Maybe if he acquires enough knowledge, he'll find the answers, the truths. The first experiment of his is an experiment of the mind. So he reads all of the books of his day, books from far and wide, philosophies, histories, science texts, anything and everything he can get his hands on. And in doing so, he becomes the most educated person of his time. And did that give him what he was looking for? The ultimate meaning of life? No, not at all, he decided. Book knowledge in and of itself was not the answer. Experiment number 2. Unbridled hedonism. If it feels good, do it. Maybe that's what life is all about. Party your brains out. Have fun. And boy, he did, and then some. Don't forget, we're talking about a wealthy prince of Jerusalem who could party in style. He could find the best wine and drink it for weeks on end, stayed up all night for days in a row, partied hard. Doesn't sound like your typical biblical book, does it? And did that experiment succeed in showing him life's meaning? Of course not. It mostly just gave him one incredible hangover. So it was time for experiment number 3, the pursuit of wealth. He bought and he acquired and he amassed, and he was very good at it. He bought vineyards, estates, gold, silver, jewels. He built homes in the cities and in the country. He had magnificent clothes from the world over. If money could buy it, he had it. And he was an excellent businessman. So his wealth begat much wealth. And then once he was the wealthiest person around, he asked himself if he had found the happiness that he sought, or the meaning of life that he wanted. And to no surprise, the answer is no. And Kohelet let us know why the answer was no. He asked, if I may paraphrase, did he build fortune to help others? Did he do it to enrich the greater world? Was there a desire to give significant tzedakah to lighten the burdens of others? And to all of those questions, the answer was no. He acquired for the sake of acquiring, amassed for the sake of amassing. And that led him to think, you think that wealth will make you free? But I say freedom is not bought, but seized. Freedom is not the last step, but the first. You never have enough money, you never have enough possessions. You become enslaved to owning and suffocate beneath a mountain of debt and fancy debris. The more you have, the more you are hounded. The more you have, the more you have to defend. And you will have no time for appreciation and joy. Another experiment failed to fill his soul with meaning and comfort. So when we encounter fear, as many of us have in recent times, when the future is unsure, when the ground under our feet won't stop moving, what's left? Where can I find then comfort and meaning? Where can I find security? As the book comes to a conclusion, Kohelet begins to reveal what he has learned in his life. There is only doing without reward. There is only serving without payment. Learning without knowing. Rejoicing without reason. Loving without controlling. What did Kohelet discover? In sum, stand in wonder of God and deal justly and kindly with all that come our way. So when all is said and done, remember this. Open your mind to wonder. Open your heart to compassion. And your hand to justice. In doing so, you will help to fashion a whole and holy world. In essence, he revealed the beautiful core of Jewish and human gifts that will always be there and that can't be taken away. Compassion and community, justice, joy, love, and wonder. Here's a beautiful little story that I've shared before, when compassion and justice were so beautifully shown at a time of economic and emotional crisis. Aaron Fierstein was a leader of the Boston Jewish community. The Fierstein family made their money in textiles. And in 1995, just before Christmas, their factory burned to the ground. The whole plant and all of its machinery were totally destroyed. And the next day, Aaron Fierstein called a meeting and told his workers that he would continue paying each of them their full salary until the plant could be rebuilt. And he did. He ignored his financial advisors and insisted on rebuilding. And when the workers finally returned, they exceeded their pre-fire level of productivity by 35% out of gratitude for Fierstein's generosity and goodwill. The Wall Street Journal sent a reporter to interview him and asked why he continued to pay his 3,000 workers for months during this long, cold winter until the factory was running again, because he didn't have to. And this was his answer. He said, "I did lose millions of dollars in that fire, and it hurt, but I still have many million left. These workers lost everything they had. Knowing that, I couldn't let them down." At a moment when he could have easily been concerned with his own interests and worry about his own bottom line, he chose instead to be just and compassionate. For times like these, Kohelet taught, take care of one another in the here and now. Open your mind to wonder. Open your heart to compassion. Open your hand to justice. Find someone to love. Find good friends. Find a hand to hold. Embrace children. Laugh and love together, because that's where the essence of God's creation dwells. Isaac followed the wisdom of Kohelet when he lifted himself off of that altar and moved on with his life. He went on to find wonder in God's creation. He found a partner to love in his wife Rebekah, the first love story in the Torah. He created family children to love. His very name teaches us that he knew how to laugh. And he went on to a life filled with purpose and meaning, a life whole and holy. May we all be blessed and strong enough to do the same. Amen.